We continue now at the top of Daf Chof Vav Amud Aleph and Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 26a. The Gemara is in the middle of demonstrating that according to Rabbi Shimon, even though in a situation of Tola B'das Atzmo, Rabbi Shimon holds there's no Breira, but in the case of Tola B'das Acherim, Rabbi Shimon would hold there is Breira. And the case over here in the Braisa is a person says, Hareini Ba'alech al Menas She'yir Tza'aba. I'm having an act of relations with you on the condition that my father accepts it, that my father agrees to the marriage. So then Rabbi Shimon says, Lo Ratza Av, if the father does not agree to it, Eina Mekudesha, so then it's not going to be a good Kiddushin, meaning that condition works. Rashi explains, Lo Ratza Eina Mekudesha, de Lo Baal Elo Al Tanai, because over here, the act of Bia was on a condition, V'lo Niskayim, and the condition was not fulfilled, because the father did not want them to get married. V'chi Ratza Miyam Mekudesha, but if the father does agree to it, so then it is a good Kiddushin. V'afa Gav de Mishas Be'ilo Safek Rotza Safek Eino Rotza. Now, even though at the time of the act of relations, it was a doubt whether the father would agree or not agree, Amrin on Huvra de Mishas Be'ilo Have Kiddushin, we say this idea of Breira, and we say from the moment of the act of Bia, it is going to be a good Kiddushin. And so again, you see that Rabbi Shimon also, he makes this distinction between Tola B'das Atzmo and Tola B'das Acherim. And the Gemara continues, Amar Le, so Rava said to Rav Misharshia, really, Bein Rabbi Yehuda, Bein Rabbi Shimon, whether you're following Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Shimon, really there is no distinction. Lo Shna Tola B'das Atzmo, V'lo Shna Tola B'das Acherim. It doesn't matter if it's Tola B'das Atzmo, if it's a decision that it's in his control, and it doesn't matter if it's Tola B'das Acherim, it's in someone else's control. Islu Breira, in all cases, both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon hold there is Breira. V'asaman over there, where it seems that there is no Breira, that's talking about in the case of the wine. The person purchases the wine from the kusim, and it seemed that they said that Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon said we do not say breira in that case. That's not true. There was a reason that was given. Kidikatani taima. It says the reason over there. The reason why they say over there it's not effective to say again whatever is left, whatever we're going to designate later will be the truma and the meiser, etc. Because Amru Lola Rabbi Meir, because they said to Rabbi Meir, no, don't you admit that maybe this container, maybe the barrel is going to break? It's going to come out that the person drank tevel retroactively. In other words, really, the breira would technically work, but there's a concern over here. Maybe it's not going to work because the barrel will break, and then they won't be able to retroactively designate the trumas and the maestros, etc. Amar Lahem, and Rabbi Meir said back to them, if it breaks, it breaks, meaning we don't have such a concern. That's not something that is common enough to be concerned about. Rashi says, because if it never emerges that we can identify the truma because it breaks, so then it would be a problem. And his response was, when it breaks, meaning, it's true. If that would happen, then we would say it was tevel. But that's not something we have to be concerned about, because that's not something that will frequently happen. And we will note over here that the proper translation of node is wineskin, which was an ancient kind of bottle for wine. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, HaKosev Tofsei Gittin, if somebody writes up documents of Gittin, Tzarech Sheyaniach Makom Ha'ishu, Makom Ha'ishu, Makom Hazman, you have to leave blank the area where the husband's going to go and where the wife will go and where the date is. Shtori Milvin, let's say somebody's writing up documents for loans, Tzarech Sheyaniach Makom HaMalve, Makom HaLove, Makom HaMos, you have to leave blank the area for the lender and the borrower and the money, and Makom Hazman, the area for the date. Shtori Mekach, if the person is writing up documents for purchases, for sales, Tzarech he has to leave blank the area where the purchaser's name will go and where the seller will go. Makom hamos, makom hasada, the place where the money will go in the field, or makom hazman, in the place of the date. Mipnei hatakana, and that's because of the takana. And the Gemara will explain what it means, mipnei hatakana. And the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Yehuda posel bekulan. Rabbi Yehuda says all of these cases are disqualified, even if these spaces are left blank. Rabbi Lazar machshir bekulan. Rabbi Lazar says all of them are kosher. Chutz mi gitei nashim, except for gitei nashim, shenemar v'chasav lo lishma, because it says in the pasuk v'chasav lo, and that means that the get needs to be written lishma. And Rashi explains, HaKosev Tofsei Gittin, Shesofer, who the person is a scribe, V'notel schar v'rotzeh sheyu mezumanim lo, he takes payment for writing these gittin, for writing these shtaras, and he wants to have them ready. Sometimes someone's going to come to hire him. He's going to be busy with other shtaros. It means to say, let's say the scribe sees that a husband and wife are fighting, so he can't say, oh, I'll just write the get for them ahead of time, and the Gemara will explain why. Let's say, for example, we see somebody's chasing another person to lend him a money. The person, the scribe, shouldn't say, I'll write it right now and I'll leave off the date for later. That way it won't be a predated shtar. He also has to leave off the space for the borrower and the lender and the money, even though there really is no technical concern. We make a gezerah that we treat shtaros the same as gittin. Again, the Gemara will explain what does it mean it's going, what's that going on. Postal Bakula and Rabbi Yehuda said all of them are bad. Even if you leave the spaces blank, and the reason for that will be explained in the Gemara. And Rabbi Lazar Ma'achshar Bakula and Rabbi Lazar says it's kosher in all cases, as long as you leave the spaces blank. Except for Gerisha, the Gazrinan ben Tofes atu Toref, because we say, just like the Toref needs to be written Lishma, we make a Gezerah also the Tofes. Shenemar v'chasav lo, like it says v'chasav lo, it has to be Lishma. The Gemara Parach, the Gemara will ask, Hayat Toref hu dichsiv, v'chasav lo is not going on the Tofes, it's only going on the Toref, and the Gemara will deal with that issue. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel, Rav Yehuda says that Shmuel says, Sorach shianiach af mokum hareat muteres l'chol adam. You also have to leave off the space where it's going to be written hareat muteres l'chol adam, that you're mutter to all people. For Rebbe Lazar, in this Mishnah follows Rebbe Lazar, Diamar Edim Misirakarti, who says Edim Misirakarti, and therefore when it says V'chasav in the pasuk, it's going on the writing of the get, it's going on the ksiva, Uva'inon ksiva l'shma, and we need to have ksiva l'shma, and that's why these spaces need to be left blank. And Rashi explains, Af mokum hareat muteres, you also have to leave blank the area of hareat muteres, shagam ze ikaro shall get. This is also part of the main part of the get, Edim Misirakarti, and again this follows Rebbe Lazar, who holds Edim Misirakarti, Hilkach v'chasav lo la v'chasimakoi. Therefore, when the pasuk says v'chasav lo, it's not going on the signatures. The chasimas edim eina elam midivrei sofrim, because the signatures are only midrabanan. When they take an olam, because of the benefit it brings to the world. V'chiksiv v'chasav lo mashma ikar krisus koi dahainu kol hani da'amr. When it says v'chasav, it's going on the main portions of the get that refer to the krisus, the separation. And the Gemara continues with tzrich, and it was necessary to teach in all of these cases, as Rashi explains, with tzricha l'Shmuel, it was necessary for Shmuel l'ukmei lahani tla stamik Rebbe Lazar, to say that these three stam mishnahs follow Rebbe Lazar. U'lameim Rebbe Kula, he had to say in all of these cases, v'ushashayir makam hatorif, that the person is leaving out the area of the Torah, the main part of the get. Ein kosvan al mechuber, for example, where the Mishnah said you're not allowed to write the get on something that's attached to the ground. V'hakol ksherin lechtov, and also the Mishnah that talked about the fact that everyone is kosher to write a get. V'hakosev tovsei gittin, and also this Mishnah about one who writes tovsei gittin. Kulu ukminu Shmuel k'Rebbe Lazar. All of these cases, Shmuel said they follow Rebbe Lazar, and that's why Shmuel said that you have to leave off the Makam HaTorah, the main part that's written, because that part does need to be written l'shma, and it needs to be written detached from the ground, etc. And the Gemara now continues and explains why each case is necessary. Because if we only had the first case, Ba'hihu de'ikol ukma k'Rebbe Lazar, so in there we would say it's like Rebbe Lazar. The katani ein kosvin v'katani kasvu, because the language of the Mishnah said you can't write it, and then it said what if you do write it? And Rashi will explain. Avol seva, but the later case, the katani she'ein kiyum haget el b'chosma, where it says that kiyum haget is only with the signatures. Eimer Rabbi Meir here. I might think that was Rabbi Meir. I might say that's Rabbi Meir. Damar Eidei Chasima Kartu, who says that Eidei Chasima are the ones who create the get, like it sounds like it says ein kiyum haget el b'chosma. So we have to say no, that's also Rebbe Lazar. V'yashminam b'ahi, and if we only had that case, ayinami ikol ukma Rebbe Lazar, that case also we would say it's like Rebbe Lazar. Avol ha ema mi the sefer Rebbe Lazar have a reisha lav Rebbe Lazar, but in this case, since the end is Rebbe Lazar, I might think the beginning is not Rebbe Lazar, so tzricha, that's why we need to say it over here as well. And Rashi explains the katani ein kosvin with the Mishnah that discussed mechuber lakarka. So first it said you can't write it on mechuber. V'hadar tana kasval mechuber kasher. Then it says that if you write it on mechuber, it's kasher. So the kasher reishal l'seifa. And then we said earlier there seems to be a contradiction between the beginning and the end of that Mishnah. So kimna dahachi kamer. So that's why we said this is what it really means. Ein kosvin tofes shema yichtov toref. It means you can't even write the tofes because you might accidentally write the toref. And then the Mishnah goes on to say, but if you do write the tofes, so it's still going to be kosher, because again, the main issue is the toref. Avol seifa kol ksher and lichtov the katani shem kiyam aget el bechosma, but the seifa, meaning the Mishnah, which talks about everybody's kosher to write a get, so the end of that Mishnah sounds like Rabbi Meir. It talks about the chasima. Eimer Rabbi Meir hiveinu tzarich l'shayer makam hatoref. If it's Rabbi Meir, you don't need to leave off the toref, because the toref is not really important anymore. The main thing that's important is the signatures. The Ashmin and Shmuel the tzarich, and that's why Shmuel's teaching us there also. You need to leave off the toref for Rebbe Elazar. It's following Rebbe Elazar. V'seifa the katani shem kiyam aget el bechosmav. And what does it mean at the end of that Mishnah when it says ein kiyam aget el bechosmav? Lav lachshure toref the cherashot of a katan. That doesn't mean to say that it's kosher if the toref is written by a cherashot of a katan to shalol l'shma koi. That's shalol l'shma. Ela mitziyasa koi. It's going on the middle case over there. Ha'isha kosev says gita l'shma. Va'ish shovro. It said over there that the wife can write her own get if it's done l'shma, and the man can write the shover. Shein kiyam haget ela b'misiraso v'lo b'chasimaso. That's what it means, that the kiyam haget is with the giving of the get and not with the signatures. V'hadin nakat chosmav. And the only reason it says signatures sound like it's talking about signatures. Mishum derov edim mesira hem achasumim. But all the Mishnah means to say is, in the majority of cases, the edim mesira are actually the ones who sign it. V'rov gittin chasumim hem. Most are signed. Afilu Rebbe Elazar, even according to Rebbe Elazar, memnei tikkun olam, because of tikkun olam. And finally, Rashi continues, Aval hami the seifa polig Rebbe Elazar. But in our Mishnah right here, so Rebbe Elazar argues at the end of the Mishnah Aresha. He argues on the beginning of the Mishnah. The Kadani Rebbe Elazar machshav b'kulan chutz migitei nashim, because it says at the end of our Mishnah that Rebbe Elazar allows all of the cases except for Gerisha, V'reisha machshir af gitei nashim, and the Reisha that allows even gitei nashim. So then I might have thought, Eim Reisha lav Rebbe Elazar, I might have said that the beginning of the Mishnah is not Rebbe Elazar. Vein tzarich l'shayer makam hareyat muteres. You don't need to leave off the hareyat muteres line. Ela makam Hashem is levadan mishum kitata kidalakamon. Maybe you only need to leave blank the spaces of the names, because we don't want fighting, as we'll explain later on. And that's why Kamashmal and Shmuel, that's why Shmuel teaches us the Reisha Nami Rebbe Elazar, that the Reisha of our Mishnah here also follows Rebbe Elazar. Utrei Tanoi v'aliva the Rebbe Elazar kidalakamei. It's a machlukas Tanoim, what exactly Rebbe Elazar held, what exactly Rebbe Elazar holds, as we will explain later on. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Mimnei takana, because of the takana. And the Gemara says, my takana. What does the Mishnah mean when it says because of the takana? Amar Rabbi Yonasan says, Mimnei takana sofer Rebbe Elazar. What it means is it's a takana on behalf of the scribes. We want to allow them to make money, so we allow them to write the tofis of the get. And that follows Rebbe Elazar. Do Amar Eidem Mesira Karti. Rebbe Elazar says Eidem Mesira Karti. And so therefore the Torah needs to be written Lishma. Uvedinu da'afilu tofis nami lo lichtov. And really we should have made a gezerah that you shouldn't write the tofes either, because of gezeira, if you end up writing the tofes not lishma, maybe you'll accidentally write the Torah not lishma. And what the Mishnah is saying is, because of our takana on behalf of the scribes, we want to allow them to make money, and therefore we want to allow them to write gittin, so we let them write the tofes, even though really we should have made a gezeira and not allowed the tofes. And then the Mishnah said, Rabbi Yehuda posel bekulan. Rabbi Yehuda says in all of these cases it's disqualified. You're not allowed to write the tofes in this fashion. So gazar tofes atu toref. The Gemara explains that Rabbi Yehuda does make the gezerah of tofes because of the toref, just like you can't write the toref not lishma, you also can't write the tofes not lishma. And furthermore, gazar shtaros atu gittin. He makes a gezerah by other shtaros, because that's the halacha by gittin. We're strict by gittin, so we're strict by other shtaros as well in this regard. And then the Mishnah said, Rebbe Elazar machshir b'kulan chutz migitei nashim. Rebbe Elazar allowed it by all shtaros except for Gerisha. Tofes atu toref gazar, because he makes a gzeira of the tofes. You can't do it by the tofes because of the toref, but shtaros atu gittin lo gazar. He does not make a gzeira by other shtaros because of Gerisha. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah at the end said, Shenemar v'chas avla. The reason why it's a problem is because the pasuk says v'chas avla, and presumably the Mishnah was saying that's why you can't write the tofes if it's not lishma. And so the Gemara asks, as Rashi mentioned that the Gemara would ask, v'haki ksiv la atoref u'dechsiv. But when it says v'chas avla, that's going on the toref. That's not going on the tofes. What does the Mishnah mean when it says shenemar, like it says in the pasuk? The pasuk is not referring to the tofes. And the Gemara explains that rather what it should say is mishum shenamar. It shouldn't just say shenamar. It should say mishum shenamar v'chasav la lishma, because it says v'chasav la. And what that means to say is because of v'chasav la, because there's a requirement of lishma by the toref. So again, we make a gezer by the tofes because of the toref, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavav Amud Beis.